There are moments in life when you feel as if the weight of the entire world is resting on your shoulders. You pray, you plan, you try, but somehow everything still falls apart. And in that collapse, you feel weak, tired, defeated. But my dear brothers and sisters, sometimes the fall itself is mercy, because when life pushes you to your knees, perhaps that's exactly where you were meant to be in Sujood. You see, Sujood isn't a posture of defeat, it's a position of strength. It's the moment when you stop carrying the world and hand it back to the one who created it. The world tells you to rise, to stand tall, to never bow down, but our faith tells us something deeper, that true elevation begins with surrender. When the forehead touches the ground, everything false in you breaks the ego, the pride, the illusion of control. You let go of the belief that you can fix everything, that your strength is enough, that your plans are perfect. And in that moment of submission, something incredible happens. You feel weightless, because what Sujood really does is realign your soul with its creator. You remember that you were never meant to carry it all alone. You remember that the one you bow to never gets tired, never forgets, and never leaves you unanswered. You may come to him with broken pieces, but he mends them with grace you never imagined. We often confuse exhaustion with weakness, but there's a difference. Being tired means you've been trying with your own strength for too long. Sujood teaches you to stop trying alone. It whispers to your heart, you were never designed to do this by yourself. Every tear you shed in that quiet moment of Sujood is not a sign of failure, it's a declaration of trust. You're saying, Ya Allah, I've done what I can. Now I leave the rest to you. And when you truly mean that, when you truly surrender, you rise from that Sujood lighter, calmer, stronger. People ask, how can lowering your head make you rise? How can submission give you strength? The answer is simple, because when you bow to the source of power, you draw from that power. When your head touches the ground, your heart touches the heavens. Sujood breaks the distance between you and peace. It humbles the body, but elevates the soul. You rise not because your problems disappear, but because your perspective changes. You stop seeing your pain as punishment and start seeing it as purification. You realize that every hardship that brought you down was an invitation to come closer. And that's the beauty of faith. It doesn't promise a life without struggle. It promises that through every struggle, you'll never be alone. The world may not see the strength it takes to cry before Allah in the middle of the night, but he sees it. The world may not hear the whispers of your dua, but he hears every syllable. And when you rise from Sujood, you rise with something the world cannot give you, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, and a strength that doesn't rely on exhaustion. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, don't fight the fall. Let it take you to Sujood, because that's where you'll remember who you are and whose you are. You were never weak for breaking. You were being prepared to rise again higher, stronger, and anchored in faith. In Sujood, you don't lose, you return, and in that return, you rise. We live in a time where the phrase "I'm tired" has become almost a reflex. We say it when things get hard, when we lose motivation, when our plans don't go the way we imagined. But most of the time, we're not truly tired, we're undisciplined. We're not drained of energy, we're drained of focus. We confuse being uncomfortable with being exhausted. And that's where many people stop right at the point where growth begins. Because discipline isn't about doing what feels good. It's about doing what is right, especially when it doesn't feel good. We tell ourselves we're tired of praying, tired of trying, tired of being patient. But what we're really tired of is consistency. We crave results without routine, success without sacrifice, peace without persistence. Yet everything beautiful, every success, every change, every blessing requires discipline. Even our connection with Allah is built upon consistency. 5 prayers a day are not for his benefit, they are for ours. They train our hearts to stay awake even when our bodies want to rest. They remind us that the soul must be disciplined before the world can ever make sense. The problem is, we've built comfort into our lifestyle and called it peace. But comfort without discipline only leads to emptiness. Real peace doesn't come from escaping responsibility. It comes from fulfilling it with purpose. You say you're tired of trying, but have you truly given your best? You say you're tired of waiting, but have you truly trusted Allah's timing? Most of the time, our tiredness comes from resisting what we know we should be doing. Because resistance is far heavier than obedience. When you fight against your own purpose, you drain your soul. But when you align your effort with faith, suddenly the same work that used to exhaust you begins to energize you. Discipline is not something you're born with, it's something you build, one small act at a time. You build it in the moments you wake up when you'd rather sleep, in the moments you stay silent when you could argue, in the moments you pray even when your heart feels distant. These are not small things, they are victories. Every act of discipline is a declaration that your desires don't control you. You control them, and that's freedom. Discipline is not restriction, it's refinement. It doesn't confine you, it defines you. Sometimes people say, I just don't feel motivated. But motivation is temporary. Discipline is what carries you when motivation fades. Discipline is the quiet, unseen effort when no one is watching. It's the strength to keep going even when the heart feels heavy and the world feels indifferent. It's choosing consistency over comfort, purpose over pleasure, and effort over excuses. Because the truth is, tiredness will always exist. The body gets tired, the mind gets tired. But a disciplined heart knows how to rest without giving up, how to pause without quitting. When you live without discipline, you live reacting to life. When you live with discipline, you start creating life. You don't wait for the right moment, you make it right. You stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I will. You stop being controlled by emotion and start being guided by conviction. That is the difference between the tired and the disciplined. One gives up when it's hard, the other grows through the hardness. So, the next time you find yourself saying, I'm tired, pause and ask yourself, am I truly tired, or am I avoiding discipline? Because tiredness ends with rest, but a lack of discipline ends with regret. The disciplined may bend under pressure, but they never break because their strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from commitment. And when that commitment is rooted in faith, even the hardest effort becomes an act of worship. We often look at discipline as something heavy, something restrictive, as if it's a punishment for wanting better. But in truth, discipline is worship. It's one of the most beautiful forms of obedience because it transforms every ordinary act into a means of drawing closer to Allah. When you control your desires, when you hold your tongue, when you fight your laziness, you are not depriving yourself, you are refining yourself. Discipline is not the opposite of freedom, it is the path to it. It teaches the heart that peace doesn't come from doing whatever you want, but from doing what's right, even when it's hard. Think about the moments when you force yourself to wake up before dawn, when the world is quiet and your bed feels too comfortable to leave. That moment of decision to rise for Fajr is discipline. It's not easy, but it's sacred, because you are teaching your soul that worship matters more than sleep, that connection matters more than comfort. Every single act of self-control, no matter how small, is a conversation between you and Allah. It's you saying, I will choose you over me. That's what makes discipline so powerful. It's not just about achieving goals. It's about aligning your will with divine purpose. When you begin to see discipline as worship, the struggle starts to make sense. You stop asking, why is this so hard? And start realizing that the difficulty is the worship. Because growth always comes with resistance. Your patience is tested, your desires are tested, your ego is tested, and through that process, your soul becomes stronger. Just like muscles only grow through tension, faith only strengthens through restraint. The act of discipline becomes a quiet form of gratitude. You're showing Allah that you value what He has given you enough to protect it, to honor it, to nurture it through consistency. We live in a world that glorifies instant gratification. Everything is designed to make you feel that waiting, working, or restraining yourself is unnecessary. But in reality, discipline is what separates temporary satisfaction from lasting fulfillment. The disciplined heart understands that ease comes through endurance. It knows that every time you say no to something harmful, every time you resist the temptation to quit, every time you choose effort over excuses you are worshiping, you're proving that your heart is not enslaved to comfort, but devoted to purpose. And discipline doesn't mean you'll never fail. It means you'll get up every time you do. It means you'll pray even when your heart feels empty. You'll keep trying even when success seems far. You'll keep forgiving even when it hurts. That's worship the persistence, not the perfection. It's about showing up for Allah even when you don't feel like it, because your faith isn't based on emotion. It's based on commitment. And that's where true peace lies, in doing what's right consistently, not occasionally. When you begin to live with discipline as worship, life changes. You stop chasing motivation because you understand that consistency itself is a blessing. You stop seeking validation because you realize that Allah sees your effort, even when no one else does. You start to find beauty in the structure, comfort in the commitment, and strength in the struggle. Every prayer, every fast, every act of self-restraint becomes a brick in the foundation of your character, a reminder that you're not being punished through discipline, you're being polished. So, the next time you find yourself resisting the effort, remind yourself this is worship. Every act of discipline is a step toward Allah, and every step toward Him brings you closer to peace. Because the disciplined heart is not chained, it is free. There comes a point in every person's journey where they realize that rising has nothing to do with the absence of hardship. It has everything to do with the presence of purpose. Life will test you, people will disappoint you, and the path will get heavy. But the truth is, you don't rise because the road gets easier. You rise because your why becomes stronger. When your purpose is rooted in faith, even the storms that try to bury you end up watering your growth. You begin to understand that Allah doesn't remove every mountain. He strengthens your legs to climb it. He doesn't always calm the storm. He teaches you how to stand firm in the rain. Sujood becomes the place where you recharge that purpose. When you bow down, you're not escaping reality, you're realigning with it. You remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to results, your peace isn't tied to outcomes, and your success isn't tied to people's approval. You rise not through pressure, but through prayer. Because prayer teaches you something pressure never can. It reminds you that you are not in control, but you are cared for by the one who is. Every sujood whispers strength into your heart, telling you that even if the world overlooks you, Allah never does, and that is enough to keep you going. When you live through pressure without purpose, you break. But when you live through pressure with purpose, you build. The same weight that crushes one person becomes the reason another person grows. The difference lies in the heart. One sees the burden, the other sees the lesson. Purpose gives meaning to the pain, direction to the effort, and hope to the waiting. It reminds you that even when life feels like it's falling apart, perhaps it's falling into place in a way you can't yet see. Every disappointment is redirection, every delay is protection, every unanswered prayer is a deeper preparation. We often think rising means reaching success, but real rising means rising within. It's when your heart learns to stay at peace even while your life is in chaos. It's when your faith remains steady, even when your circumstances shake. The one who rises through purpose doesn't wait for calm seas to move forward. They learn to navigate through the waves. They don't rise because they have no pain. They rise because they've learned how to use that pain to push closer to Allah. And discipline plays a quiet but powerful role in this rise. It's what connects purpose to persistence. Without discipline, purpose becomes just a dream. With it, purpose becomes destiny. When you build discipline through daily prayer, through self-control, through patience, you're not just managing your time, you're managing your soul. You're reminding yourself that your effort is an act of faith, not frustration. You're learning that every delay, every challenge, every hardship is shaping you, not stopping you. It's easy to rise when life is light, but the true test is to rise when life feels heavy, to rise when your does seem unanswered, when your plans seem delayed, when your heart feels weary. And yet, that's where the beauty lies. Because each time you go down in sujood, you rise a little stronger, a little calmer, a little more connected to your purpose. You begin to live not to impress people, but to please Allah, not to prove your worth, but to fulfill your calling. So rise through your purpose, not through your pressure. Because the world may see you bowed in sujood, but in reality, you are rising higher than ever, closer to the one who lifts hearts from the lowest places to the highest ranks.